You're listening to the Low Pressure Podcast, the podcast for skiers.
Presented by CMH Heli Skiing and Peak Performance.
Yeah.
Number 200. Ian.
Here we are, buddy.
Cheers, buddy.
Yeah, pleasure to be here.
It's timed well. This will come out, I think, the first episode of the new year as well.
Oh, I'm honored, dude.
Yeah,
this
man.
Is sweet.
I am. I was telling someone this story the other day. I don't remember if it was on the show or not. And they're like, how did you come up with the idea? And blah, blah, blah. And I was telling them about that day we skied Kybers. We were sitting at Dusty's. And I was like, hey, man, I got an idea. And I told you what I was. And you're like, that's a great idea. You should totally do that. And I'm like, I'm doing that. I go, hell yeah.
Nice.
All right.
Yeah, I'm glad you did.
Yeah, me too, man. And you and Dirt did the first one.
Yeah.
And then 100. And then now 200. And people always ask me, what's your favorite episode? Or which episode should we listen to? And there's so many good ones. Like, I just love them. There's so many amazing shows.
There's tons of good ones.
But I always tell people I like 1 and 100 because there's such different conversations.
Right.
Like, and you can see the growth. I always like the growth in him as a person is like, I find super fascinating just from where you were, like base jumping and doing all that gnarly shit. And then, all right, now I'm kind of focused a little bit more on myself, and I've become a vegan and, doing all that kind of stuff. Were we talking about crypto at that episode? I don't know.
I think we talked about crypto.
Yeah, right. And then now it's going to be, there's another huge step forward for this one, which is cool, man. So I appreciate you.
It's cool to see the evolution in people. Mm-hmm. So I'm honored to,
Likewise. So
be here for it.
We were just talking. You're like, what did we talk about? I'm like, oh man, I got. Now that it's on, where do we start?
Yeah.
You went skiing today, though.
I did. Well, I actually just took my daughter skiing.
That's still skiing.
And I let my wife go. I shouldn't say let my wife go. My wife got a day of going skiing.
Yeah.
As well deserved. I've been on the road for the last 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And she's been pulling double duty on our 2 children.
Yeah.
Which are 7 months old and 2.5.
So you have 2 kids now.
Yeah, 2 little girls. And for anyone that knows anything about having kids, is when you have 2 kids that young, it is a ton of work. And when you're by yourself, it is full on. So yeah, my wife deserved a ski day. So she got to ski most of the day today. And then at the end of the day, I took my daughter for a little ski.
That's awesome. Oh, so you hung out with the kid all day and then just went to go swap?
I actually hung out at home and then just came in and met up.
Because I guess 2.5, you can only really do so much.
Oh, it's like one run down magic chair, which for anyone who doesn't know Whistler or Blackcomb, magic chair is like, I don't know, 100 meters of vert maybe.
Yeah, and it's like the rickety like.
It's the old triple chair. It's
triple
the little
chair.
kid's chair, Yeah. But it was her first time riding a chairlift. I did take her skiing last year. But just like soft boots between my legs kind of thing, and like mid station down to the bottom, and then she's done. And today she was like super fired up. I think the key and what I've been hearing from everyone is like, when you're introducing kids to this sort of stuff, it's like you got to keep it fun. You push them too hard, they're not going to like it, right? So she's like, we did 1 run, and she was like, that was super fun. I'm like, you want to go again? No. I'm like, all right, we're done. Let's go have hot chocolate. And I'll have a beer.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
That's super cool. And you know what? It was probably one of your best days of the year, wasn't it?
It's so fun too.
Your first real ski day with your girl. Man.
Yeah, it's all the cliches, right? Having children. People that don't have children, and I've been there, is you don't really understand it. And then when you have kids and they're your kids, it's the coolest thing ever to show them the world and introduce them to super fun things like skiing and biking and all that sort of stuff, and just see how stoked they get. And it almost makes you like feel young again, because you're seeing the world through this like new person's eyes that everything's new to and everything's amazing, and so it's kind of like it brings some youth back into you.
The cliches too, eh?
Yeah, it's all the cliches.
So when you're on the road for like the 3 weeks and you come back, does he just hand you the kid and then there's like
no, unfortunately my wife doesn't do that, because like
here you go,
my life is hectic when I'm on the road too, right? So it's when I get home, but it's like I'm super psyched to like grab one of my daughters and like hold her and like hug them and and hang out. But then it's just like, it rather than my wife just being like, here's the kids and I'm out of here, it's more just like I'm back into the life of like helping out, and we're now a team again.
Yeah, you can experience that family kind of vibe, right?
Yeah.
Do you do a lot of FaceTiming and stuff with the kids when you're gone?
Totally. Yeah.
Is that the hardest? Is that the hardest part about your job?
For sure. I mean, like being
leaving.
Yeah, being on the road, being away from my family is definitely the hardest part these days. I used to just love being on the road. I'm like, I don't ever need to go back ever. It's like I'd be on the road like 12 months a year. It'd be awesome. But now that I have a family, it's like I don't enjoy it as much. And so I try and like pick my battles. Like in other words, only go when it's absolutely necessary. So yeah.
Like if it's good job or
yeah, work related stuff that's important. There's tons of work related stuff that you can like miss out on, and it's not a big deal. And there's other work related stuff that is super important.
Yeah.
And so just trying to
to balance
figure out which is the which.
Was that difficult? Like, cause your first was kind of born at the end of the winter, wasn't she?
She was born early summer. And
so you had a bit of time to kind of get used to it. And then when you first got into that first season where you had to start traveling, like, remember that first trip, leaving the kid, first trip?
It's tough.
Yeah.
It's tough. But, the thing is with one kid is like one kid's easy. It's like a freaking hobby. It's like people that don't have any kids, they're all afraid of having one kid. It's like one kid's like, it's no problem. Like you think it's hard when you're in it.
Yeah.
But then you have two and you realize like how easy one is. It's
is
like,
it really that much difference?
It's like 100 times more work. All worth it for sure. And it's really just like a lot more work with two in the early stages. You can already see like my older daughter's like starting to play with, and I'll be like, entertain your younger sister, and like younger sister's 7 months old, and you got to kind of keep an eye on her because she'll like yank on her arm or like shove her head in the carpet or whatever,
the fireplace or something.
Yeah. So you gotta like, but like at the same time, they're already starting to like entertain each other, and so you can see how it's gonna be awesome. But like, yeah, that initial couple years is like 100 times more work than one child. And so yeah, when I would first leave, it was hard, definitely. But my wife wasn't having as hard of a time with it because it's just her and the one child. Like that's pretty easy one-on-one, But now that she like gets outnumbered when I leave, and she has to like start playing zone defense and
they're in the terrible 2 stage now.
Well,
too,
yeah,
right?
the one's 2 years old, so she's like crazy, and then the infant, they need full on attention. So it's full on. Yeah, my wife is a trooper. She's any woman out there or man that is a stay at home and dealing with a couple kids while the other person is at work every day, like power to them, because that is a lot of work.
No doubt.
Yeah.
Shout out Tessa Treadway.
Yeah. Tessa Treadway is like
super
wow.
mom.
Yeah. Blowing our minds right now. We think about her every now and then. We're like, wow.
Yeah. So do I. Like
how does she get to the ski hill?
Oh man. Like, and those 3 kids are like, they're Treadways.
Oh yeah, they're full on. They're like bouncing off the walls with energy. They want to send it. They're like, and it's 3 boys. Like, I mean, I have 2 girls.
3
like,
Treadway boys.
Yeah, I have like 2 girls. They're like sweet and innocent, and they don't even like, they're nice and like chill. Whereas boys, like anytime I've hung out with little boys, they're freaking crazy.
Loose, yeah.
Yeah. They want to smash things, jump off stuff, get into stuff. It's a different ballgame. So props to Tessa for sure.
Yeah, big time. Yeah. I think about it every once in a while. Is that my brother has got might have 2 little nieces. They're like 5 and 3.
Yeah.
Kind of the same zone, and I have it seems like I think COVID babies are popping up everywhere.
Oh yeah, well I mean, yeah, when you're locked at home.
Yeah. COVID babies and COVID divorces. That seems to be
make babies or get a divorce.
Yeah, I don't like you, or I really like you.
yeah, totally.
And they both have a result, right?
Yeah. Like people really got to figure out where they were in their relationships during COVID, right? It's like, we shouldn't be together, or we should make babies.
Yeah. Do we need another one? We'll soon find out.
So we have obviously a COVID baby.
Yeah.
With our second, and she was also born in the spring, May 3rd. So we timed it really good, like, so that we could get a bunch of months of like both of us on duty, and then now work season for me has started. But at least we're out of that like first couple months in NAR.
And you moved back to your place in Pemby. You were. I think last time you were here, you were staying at your little condo in Squamish.
Yeah.
And you're renting your Pemby house, and now you're back at Pemby. And last time I visited, you were you're showing me all the rain barrel, and you're souping up the backyard and just like getting it dialed in for like, proper living.
Yeah, we've got all the veggie gardens and planting tons of trees and just lots of landscaping. My house, I bought it. It was a pretty nice house, like well finished and everything, but the yard was non-existent. So I've just been plugging away at that, building sheds and, all that sort of stuff, and tons of landscaping and tons of tree planting and everything. But yeah, it's been pretty sweet. Our neighbors last summer, they had bees and they were
really?
making honey.
Oh, cool.
And like our yard is just full of flowers. And
your kids are for sure not allergic to bees?
No, neither my wife and I are, so the chances would be very low. But yeah, we're just, you can just see the bees just like flocking to our yard, and like they're all over. And then they gave us some of the honey, so it's like honey from essentially our flowers.
Oh, that's cool.
Pretty sweet.
And then you obviously full veggie garden, so you can support yourself a lot with.
Yeah, quite a bit. In the summer, we're eating like a lot of meals. We're like out of the garden.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
What's your favorite thing to grow?
Tomatoes.
Is it actually?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Just because I like, in the summer it's just like tomato sandwiches and like tomatoes on burgers or whatever. Like they're very versatile. You make sauce, and then like at the end of the summer we just sauce the crap out of them, and we have tomato sauce for the year.
What's the hardest thing to grow?
The hardest thing to grow in Pemberton, I'd say, I really want to get a greenhouse going on so I can grow peppers better.
Yeah.
Because you can grow them, but it's hard to grow them in with everything else and so on and so forth. So I've been having hit and misses with the peppers.
What about like broccoli?
Broccoli is hit and miss too. It's got to be in a spot that's not so hot, because, or like not so like crazy sun, because it'll just go to flower. It just gets stressed out. Doing a lot of cauliflower, that seems to work out well. But yeah, we want to put in a big greenhouse in the back, and then we can kind of move some things in there, and then some of our cooler areas do the peas and stuff, because our peas tend to get torched by the Pemberton heat. So yeah, just playing with it, constantly learning how
That's
to
cool,
be
man.
more efficient.
And more sustainable for
Yeah,
yourself,
totally.
Right?
Yeah, 100%.
That's really cool, man. And then you've got, I think you're putting the driveway in when I was there last.
Yeah, we did a bunch of home improvements last year. We did our kitchen, we did the driveway, paver stones on the driveway, and now our house is like, we were thinking like, constantly about like, do we want to move? Do we want to sell this house and try and get something else? We were contemplating moving back to Whistler, taking on a way bigger mortgage to live in a way lesser house, all these sorts of things.
Because it's closer to the airport kind of thing. I remember that's
well,
what you're
just
telling me,
and
Squamish.
I mean, I love Whistler. Whistler's got some amazing attributes with the lakes, and it's just the valley trails everywhere. It's a fun place to live, right? And I kind of missed being in Whistler in some respects, but I've truly come to love Pemberton, and we realized that where we are is where we want to be, and let's just make the house the perfect house for us. And so that just involves a couple little renovations and fixing it up a little bit, and we're super stoked to be there for long term.
Sick, man.
Yeah.
So another thing you've really been working on hard is getting your guiding certificate.
Yes.
And are you officially a guide now?
I'm officially a guide now. There is levels that I can go higher into guiding, but I can take a group in a helicopter or a snowcat or whatever.
So what's your official like accreditation? Or
like
your...
CSGA Level 2.
Awesome.
So Canadian Ski Guide Association Level 2. I went the CSGA route for lots of different reasons that we don't really need to get into, but it was just a better fit for me versus the ACMG.
Mm-hmm.
But essentially they're the same certification as far as like getting into guiding. Like if you want to guide, if you have your CSGA Level 2, you're good to go, same as your ACMG, right? So ACMG focuses more on like a lot of like the all mountain guiding from rock and all that sort of stuff, right? But I was just really wanted a ski guide ticket, and so that was, especially balancing my professional ski career, that was the route that was the best for me.
You can extend it.
Yeah.
When you get to that age where you're no longer, the draw for a big trip, you can still go on those trips because they need you, and then you can still get a few shots in here and there.
Totally. It's already happening where I'm getting all these opportunities to guide other film crews, like younger generations of up and coming rippers, still going on these trips, still going to these amazing places, but, maybe taking a step back from the crazy risk and more managing the risk that others are taking, and just trying to have their back and make sure that they're making good decisions, mentor and guide at the same time. I've seen a lot over the years. It's been a long career.
That's got to be a huge thing for those younger skiers too, because they're like, shit, Macintosh is my guide.
Yeah. I mean, I wish I had a Doug Coombs or something like that guiding me when I was getting into it. That's someone that had truly been on the other side of the camera and knows what the whole production side of things works like, and so on and so forth. So I think that, I'm already getting lots of job opportunities with that, getting lots of job opportunities within the guiding world, but I'm still a professional skier. So, right now it's I just turned 40 this year. So I'm just trying to my pro ski career is here, my guiding career is just starting, but eventually, it's try and find that blend where my guiding career eventually becomes my primary source of income.
Well, you just backed yourself up properly, right? You just set yourself up for, no hard transition.
I think for me, the last few years, I started to get quite a bit of anxiety about what am I doing?
A little midlife crisis.
Yeah, almost. But, I think people don't really realize this with professional athletes is, it's one thing if you play in the NFL and you get paid millions of dollars and then you can just retire and you don't have to work another day in your life. But when you're a professional skier, you're not getting paid millions of dollars. You're making ends meet, and it's a great life. But it's not like one day you're just going to retire and then not have to work again in the rest of your life. So
unless you're one of the 4 or 5 people that are able to do
sure,
that,
there's some anomalies, right? But
but I know exactly what you mean, and that's been a theme throughout the entire 200 episodes of this thing. Is a lot of times I'm like, hey, what are you doing? What are you doing outside of skiing? What have you have planned? Are you going to school? Do you have any skills? Do you know?
Yeah, and I think a lot of people, I know ex-professional skiers that have gone into real estate or gone back to school, taking business, whatever they're doing, they're finding different ways to, back themselves up so that when their ski career is done, they have something else to fall back on. And I was a carpenter before. I could have fallen back on that, but that wasn't really something I really wanted to do full time. I enjoy it, doing it here and there, helping out friends or working on my house, but I really didn't want to do it full time. And then I've also was like, man, I've spent the last 20 years of my life building my brand, my brand within the ski world, and building my name within the ski world. It's if I just can go down the guide route, I can continue to use and leverage that name and brand that I've built within this industry to continue to make money and enjoy skiing and continue to ski on track POW all the time, because that's really all it's about. The whole reason I got into this whole game is so that I can keep skiing all the time. And it's okay, well, I want to keep doing that. So how do I do that? And the guide ticket for me was the ticket.
No brainer. Was it a light bulb moment, or you're just or were you just doing courses because it was good for the career, good for the job, and you're oh, I've actually got a bunch of these.
I wanted to be a guide before I became a pro skier.
For real?
Yeah, and that was kind of what I thought I was going to do with my life, and then, that went on hold for a number of years, and then I think the last bunch of years I started getting like I said, getting this anxiety creep about okay, I'm going to start getting paid less. My contract's going to start shrinking. How do I make the same amount of money? How do I continue to have my lifestyle? All these sorts of things that I cherish so much about what I do is I have an amazing lifestyle and it pays the bills. I want to keep that going. I was well, going down the guide path is an obvious one. And I've already got so much experience from climbing Denali and Bolivia, all these sleeping in snow caves and going on 3-week expeditions where we're in tents camping and and working firsthand with some top guides in the industry, so I felt it was just a no-brainer for me, and it's here I am. I just got my guide ticket and so many doors are opening for me. It's I'm having to turn down opportunity right now because I'm still focused on being a pro skier, and that's still what I want to be primarily doing. But it's just now all of a sudden all that anxiety's gone, all that, it's like, sweet, I know that if like tomorrow all my ski contracts disappeared, I could go out and make a living, and it would be all good. So and I know that's not going to happen tomorrow, but it's just nice to know, because like you never know, like financial situations of companies that you're sponsored by, the ebb and flow of the economy, there's like the pandemic, all these sorts of X factors that can contribute to the fact that like one day all of a sudden sponsors are like, listen, you're old, it's been a good run, but we need to allocate some money for the younger generation, so we're going to have to cut your contract.
Yeah.
And I get that. And I want to be the guy on the phone being like, not like, F you, and I can't believe that you're doing this to me and blah, blah, blah. I want to be like, yeah, no problem. I've got myself covered. How about we just like keep this flow going, and I continue to represent your brand, and
you just cover some expenses.
And like, yeah, sure. Like if the paychecks will get smaller and smaller, and eventually maybe it'll just turn into like, I'm still sponsored for the rest of my life by the companies that I've always been sponsored by, but it's just a gear thing.
I get gear. I get skis from my kids.
Yeah,
and
I get
family.
I get tons of gear from my family and myself, and I can go out and still represent those brands within the industry. I'm still working with film crews and guiding, wealthy people in the mountains, and these are the types of people that buy gear. And so I look at it as like a really good situation for my sponsors. I look at it as like, my team managers will probably be pretty psyched that like, man, I wish like more of our older athletes would do something like this and make this transition easier on us.
Yeah.
Because what happens, I think, with a lot of people is they get into that situation and they get all bent out of shape that they're getting a pay cut or whatever, or they're losing their contract. And so then they jump ship and go to some other brand that's going to give them a contract, but they haven't built a lifelong relationship with that brand. After that contract's done, after a couple years, it dissolves. And then eventually they end up sitting there going, damn, I don't even get free gear anymore. And I used to be this big name in the industry.
Yeah.
And here I am, not only do I not get paid and I don't have a source of income, but like, I don't even get free gear anymore. And I just don't want that to be the case. I want my relationships with my sponsors to continue to be super positive and flourish for the rest of my life. And so I see this as like a nice, easy transition for everybody.
That's well done. I almost feel like I need to give you a round of applause.
Right on, dude.
It's like a lot of it's just like common sense. Do you know what I mean? It's like when you think about it that way, you're like, well, this is, if you look at it as a pragmatist, you're like, you're like, yeah, this is what's going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, it's inevitable. You can sit there and tell yourself that you're going to be a pro skier until you're 60, but it's just not the case.
Yeah.
And especially with what kids are doing these days, it's like, come on,
geez.
like those kids deserve to get hooked up.
Mm-hmm.
Like I want whatever pay cuts I get to come down the pipe, I want those pay cuts to go straight into the next generation so that they can like have the same opportunity that I've had. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, I just want it to be smooth and easy for everybody and stress-free and all that beautiful stuff. It's like, so, yeah, it seems, I can't believe more guys in my situation aren't doing this.
You should teach a course. You could do like a master class.
Yeah, it's like, I'm just like scratching my head. I'm like, wait, how is this, like, how am I not like hearing, like, you think back, like Craig Kelly was going down that route,
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, he died in an avalanche, which could happen to any of us at any time. We all play in the mountains. But, not many people have gone down that route. And it's just like, it seems so strange to me because it's like, man, you've spent your life building this brand, and here's this opportunity to stay in the industry and continue to leverage your brand.
Find a way. A lot of people do. I don't know. I agree and disagree. There are lots of, it's with anything, right? There's a lot of people that don't really take advantage of it. Then there's a lot of people that do transition really well. Like
there's different yeah, you're right.
Like a Heimer kind of thing, right? He's a team manager for Head now.
Totally.
Same sort of thing. Lifelong
Totally.
relationship with this brand. Like, cool. Now I get to kind of shape it and move it forward, right?
For sure. And there's tons of examples of guys that have done a great job of transitioning into staying within the industry and doing something different. Mm-hmm. But I'm just like surprised that there's not more people going down the path of like guiding.
Oh, okay.
That are from our industry, because it just seems like such a natural path to go down. And then you also, as a skier, continue to just like, that's the thing about being a guide. It's like, follow me, guys. First tracks, always.
Yeah.
It's like,
don't pass the guide.
Yeah. Like, I'm a powder snob. I hate tracks, like, so it's like my whole goal when I go skiing at Whistler Blackcomb is like, I want to cross the least amount of tracks every day that I go up there. Like anyone's goal, right? And we've got it down to like a fine science when we ski Whistler Blackcomb. But when you're a guide, it's like you're always skiing first tracks. And I look at that as like a really beautiful thing to be able to do in retirement or whatever, post pro career
Stage 2.
Yeah.
So there's something I want to talk to you about that's kind of tied into this. So we had Nick McNutt on the show earlier this season.
Yeah.
And when he first had his accident, the Avalanche accident, which you were at.
Yeah.
I was like, hey man, you want to do a podcast? He's like, yeah, sure. And then it exploded, and I was like, all right, I'm just gonna leave him alone, right?
Right.
Like, you do your, and I was like, I saw him do all the interviews and all this shit. I'm like,
Right.
God damn it! But at the same time, I'm like, not though. Like, I don't want to hassle him. He's got all these.
Yeah, he's got a lot going on.
So I was like, this is perfect. I was like, how is it now? Like reflecting back on that, and he told the story, and he had a little bit of like, a little bit of space. But I wanted to ask you, kind of like your views on it. Like, you were there.
Yeah.
Like, what was your point of view on the whole thing? Like, let me hear your story and then kind of how that fits.
Well, I guess for people that don't really know the story, it's like McNutt got caught in an avalanche. It was a small avalanche. It was like a pillow collapse, but it turned into like a huge debris pile. He got raked through the trees and buried, and we got raked through the trees. He was wearing a Pieps DSP Tranciever, which has like a push button lock on the face of the Tranciever. When he hit the tree, that allowed his Tranciever to switch off. We know for a fact it switched off because we checked him twice that morning and it was on. So anyway, we had to rescue him with no Tranciever signal, which meant finding him with a probe. Fortunately, we were able to do that and extract him, blah, blah, blah. So my experience was, holy shit, that was super scary. And I almost lost my friend. And here's this piece of equipment that is our fail-safe, which is our Avalanche Tranciever. When the poop hits the fan, this is the device that we rely on to have our back. And when it fails, that's no good. Mm-hmm. And so obviously we felt strongly like something should change in the industry. And, obviously we reached out to the community and we got tons of feedback that lots of people, like hundreds and hundreds of people, are having issues with that Tranciever and its lock mechanism and it's switching in and out of send to off to search without the user wanting it to. Mm-hmm. And so anyway, we started our conversation with Pieps and we said, hey, here's the deal. We're going to give you guys some time to figure out what you want to do about this. But eventually, when the movie comes out, it's going to be in the movie and we're going to go public. And if you guys haven't done anything to fix the situation, we're going to run you through the,
which he really covered.
And, but we, and like through the whole deal is like, we didn't want to just slander a company. That wasn't what we were out to do.
From what I heard, you gave them options. You're like, look, this is something that needs to be addressed. We're going to give you all the time and that you need.
Yeah.
There's a limit, obviously, but we're going to give you the opportunity to do what's needs to be done, right?
Yeah. And, and for us, the whole thing is like, we really just we're just looking out for the industry, for everyone else in the backcountry, using that device. We didn't want the same issue to happen to them, right? And so anyway, fast forward, we went public. I love to hate on social media because I see a lot of negatives about it. Here's one positive about it, is that a couple skiers with a bit of a following can, create enough awareness to make a multi-million-dollar company that's resistant to recalling their product finally actually do it. And it took a lot, but we got the job done. So hopefully there's no one out there using that Tranciever, or if they are, they've got like this new janky harness,
the case thing,
new case thing. They're using it in a way that it's not going to fail on them. And so job done on our perspective. It was crazy, but I'm glad we were able to make the change that we were able to make. And And it just goes to show you that, ultimately at the end of the day, lawyers have the final say. And I think their lawyers were really reluctant to admit to fault. And eventually they had to, because they realized they were at fault. And it's just one of those things. It's like, I just wish that companies that have the responsibility of making safety equipment would make sure that the safety equipment, and they knew that product was faulty, and they kept selling it. And so I just wish that that they would have done more earlier, and it's too bad that it took us to have to make that change. But ultimately, end of the day, I think what it's going to happen is it's going to make the testing for Avalanche transceivers more stringent, so that in the future all transceivers have to meet a higher standard for their safety. And so I think it's good all around for the industry.
That's good.
So, yeah.
So I'm glad you clarified that, because I was going to get to that. But that line of questioning was more like, when you're sitting on that sled and you see your friend get caught in this avalanche, smash into a tree, and now all of a sudden, all right, it's go time. Like, what's going on through your head? Like, you've got all this training.
Well, initially it's like, oh shit, but then a second after that, it's like, I got you, bro. Like, I know how to use my rescue equipment. And this is like one thing I'd like to stress to everyone in the industry, or everyone who plays in the backcountry, is like, be so dialed with your equipment that when the shit hits the fan, you are like 100% confident that you're going to find your friend underneath the snow and get them out as quickly as possible. And that was my mentality. I was like, I'm going to have him out of here so quickly. I'm going to find him so quick. He's going to be okay. And then when there's no signal, I'm like, he's a dead man. How are we going to find him in time? I was like, we will find him eventually, but how are we going to find him in time?
So what's that? So when you get to that point in time when you're like, you're yelling, you can hear Lucy yelling, you get your other crew members, and you're like,
Yeah.
there's no signal. Like, what's going on? Like, what? Like,
Well,
because when you got to rely on your training, but you don't necessarily ever rely on a scenario. How often do you train for a scenario where you're looking for a burial without a transceiver?
That's
right?
the thing, is we never train for that
Exactly.
situation. And we've started to now, like with TGR's course, and I was doing guides training at Eagle Pass Heli, and it seems like the industry is starting to actually be like, because some people wear their transceivers in their pocket, and what if you hit a tree and it just smashes it into pieces, so there is circumstances where it could fail outside of this faulty piece of equipment. So I think it's important to at least have in the back of your mind that, like, hey, if you know for certain that you've scanned the whole avalanche path and there's no signal, your next thought process should be probe line. Start probing. And where do you start probing? At the toe of the avalanche, because that's the most likely spot that a person would be, and in line with your last point that you saw them. So for us, the last point we saw McNutt was where he hit the tree. So it was easy to know, like, he hit that tree, we're going to probe in line, straight below that tree, and we found him.
And is this stuff like obviously you're trained to stay as calm as possible, but when you're in it, the emotions and adrenaline is going crazy.
Oh,
or
man.
You're obviously there's like Lucy, who's a superhuman guide.
Yeah.
There's yourself, who's got his guide training. You guys have all been up there. Who takes the lead? Who says, all right, this is what we're doing? How does that situation work?
We were all working together as a team. We've all got a lot of training, that whole crew. The TGR crew trains a lot. We got Lucy. Obviously she became like a bit of a leader, but initially I was the first person on the scene, and so it was.
So you guys are just like napping on your sleds, having lunch.
We were just partying. We were like, oh, this is a mellow terrain for McNutt. He's just gonna like ninja it like he always does.
Just gonna watch like
we were
you're
just
sitting
like
in
having
like
a
theater
picnic.
seats.
Yeah. So when it all went down, it was a shock. But at the end of the day, it's like, the decisions that were being made when we were trying to find him were like, someone was calling it out. Like, I was like, we need our probes. Like, everyone get your probes out. And it wasn't like, what are we doing? It was like, everyone was like, yes. And we're like, there, he hit the tree, probe in line with the tree. Like, there wasn't a second going by.
Do you have to fire your sleds up and they get to the toe of the avalanche and stuff?
Yeah, we did. But like, the whole response, it went like as as smoothly as a response like that could go. But yeah, you can hear me in the film. I'm like, no way, no way, no way, because I'm thinking in my head, he's dead, man.
Yeah. I got chills, man. Like I started watering up because I could hear your voice, and
I just thought
chills.
I was like, this is how McNutt dies. Like, how is this how my buddy dies? Like, it's such a mellow piece of terrain. How could this be how he dies? And how do we not have a signal? Like, all these things are running through your head. You're like, how the heck do we not have a Tranciever signal? Like, how is this how he's gonna die? But at the same time, you got to stay as calm as possible and keep moving forward with trying to rescue him any way you see fit. And the only way we saw fit at that point was using our probes, last point of scene, and it worked. So
how long did it take from when you got to? So like you're sitting on your sleds, and is your gear everywhere? Do you have to like start getting your stuff back together?
I had my gloves off. I had my backpack off. Christina had her boots off. That's why she was later on the scene and kind of took the leadership role, because her feet were frozen. We were up there at like 3 a.m. hiking, and it had been a long day. So she was taking more, like, once she got on scene, she was taking the more leadership role. And, we were all probing in line with the tree, but it wasn't very organized. And then that's when she came in and she's like, we need to do a proper probe line. And I was like, you're 100% right. That's what we need to do. But right as we kind of confirmed that that's what we need to do, our cinematographer, Ben Dan, he located McNutt with his probe. And so it was 5 minutes. We know that because we all wear mics. Mm-hmm. And we were able to actually listen to McNutt's mic from the time he hit the tree to the time we dug him out. It was like 5 minutes, 15 seconds. And it was the eeriest thing we've ever listened to, is just listening to his struggles underneath the snow, what he was going through as he was slowly suffocating to death.
Oh my God.
And wondering, where the heck are my friends? They're really well trained. Why haven't they got me yet?
I asked him. I think he said like, all right, they got me.
He's like, they got me, but then after a while, he's like, why don't they have me yet? Like, this is taking way too long.
And also, like, when you're in a position like that and you're not moving and you're buried, I'm sure each second feels like 5 minutes. And then
your arm's shattered and you're suffocating and you don't have any air. Yeah, every second seems like an eternity. And so for 5 minutes for him probably felt like years, being stuck under there. And he was slowly fading away. He was becoming comfortable with, like, his demise. He was like slowly losing consciousness, and we got to him just before he kind of lost consciousness. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I mean, testament to the crew. We train a lot, but there's, with these sorts of things, there's a bit of luck involved. There's, and ultimately, at the end of the day, it really came down to the fact that our fail-safe equipment didn't work when we needed it.
Yeah, yes, but also at the end of the day, the training saved his life.
The training, and that's why I encourage people, like, every year, who are the people you go in the backcountry with? Get out there with them. Practice with your transceivers. Practice shoveling. Practice with your probing.
When's the last time, people listening, when's the last time you assembled your probe?
Yeah.
Some of you right now have been like, I haven't. It's been in the bag for 3 years. I haven't opened it up. You know what I mean?
When was the last time you went out and actually used your transceiver? Like, with a couple friends. Like, they bury other transceivers. You go find them.
Do it in the backyard.
You can do it in the backyard if you've got snow, or when you're up on the ski resort. It's like not an epic POW day. Just go with your friends over at, like, a lot of mountains have the transceiver
like Whistler, Blackcomb's got their little transceiver zone.
Just go check it out and, like, play with your equipment and become faster and efficient, because when the shit hits the fan and you're in a panicked frame of mind and the stress is mounting, that's when you need your training. That's when you fall back on your training to really get your ass out of the situation and save your friends.
Yeah, man. So you guys, like, that's another nice little transition, because every year the Teton Gravity team has like a week-long training,
several day long. It's not a week long, but it's a few days.
Every and then I think TGR was one of the first crews to do that consistently.
Oh, for sure.
And now you're seeing every, like, major kind of group following suit, which is really, really awesome to see.
Yeah, that's what we want. Like, for TGR, it's like we just want this to become an industry normal, that everyone, especially in the free ride world that's working with film crews, that we're going out and practicing with our equipment, but we want to encourage, like, everyone in the world who plays in the backcountry to do the same, right? Like, we're supposed to be leaders and we're supposed to lead by example. Well, our example is early season, get out there and train.
What's it called? What do you guys call it?
IPRW, International Pro Rider Workshop.
Yeah. And then you were teaching it this year. Right?
I was one of the instructors,
Yeah.
one of the 4 instructors this year for it. Obviously, with my guide ticket now, they consider it, and I'm a veteran on the TGR crew, so they're like, yeah, let's bring you in and you can teach everything that you've learned to everyone else. It's like I'm not like a ticketed instructor or anything like that, but I have a lot of knowledge that I've gained through doing my guides courses and through my own experiences that I'm able to pass on to the younger generations. And
it's that transition step that we were talking about.
yeah, and it was super awesome. It was so fun to be back with that family after not seeing them for a couple of years of the pandemic, and getting everyone together. And that course, the IPRW that TGR does, it is full on. It is, and like for a short course, it's like the rescue scenario that we do on the final day, that the teams do. It's a 5-hour long rescue scenario from like you're digging up avalanche burials, you're pulling up dummies that need CPR, you're triaging, you're extracting other dummies that are like full on human weight dummies that have injuries written on underneath their clothing on their extremities. You're performing first aid, you're packaging them, you're getting them down the mountain, you're getting them through all this different terrain, across glaciated terrain, lowering over cliffs. And then all the while we're throwing like other medical issues from other parts of the team. Like now this teammate has diabetes and they're going into like a full diabetic shock.
For real.
Now this teammate is fully hypothermic and they have to deal with that all along the way. And it was like this year it was like 5 hours from start to finish, for everyone to be done. And it's, from everyone that I was talking to and from what I've seen, it's something that's just not being done. Like it's an unprecedented kind of scenario to practice. And it's so amazing to see how the TGR crews, because obviously there's like multiple crews all doing their own scenario and competing against each other for the win. But it's cool to see how they all finished within like a minute of each other. So they're all like super dialed and like they all got through all the terrain and with very little mistakes. There's always tons of stuff we can critique them on, but like, wow, what a testament to that crew and how much training they've done that they can go through that scenario and get out of it the other side with like, we did everything or mostly everything pretty damn good. And if that was the real situation, we would have been okay. We would have got through it.
It's got to create a tighter bond too when you're actually out there, like you and the crew that were there that day. You've got a new level of this bond that
100%
on a whole other level, right?
Yeah.
And even without having to go through something like that, but even through like a mock scenario, when you're out and you're like, oh yeah, we've been through some shit together. Like, I know we're on the same page. Like that's got to just add that whole extra level of comfort.
Totally.
And when you're comfortable back there and you're relaxed and you have confidence, like you can get so much done, either just with your skiing or whatever, or your filming or whatever, right?
For sure. And I think with our situation with McNutt, it's like worst case scenario. You don't have a signal, and we got him out alive. So that the confidence that builds in our training and that like reaffirms our training and like that we're doing this for a good reason. This isn't just like going through the paces. This is like real life shit. And when we need it, when we absolutely need it, the training's there for us, and it came through. And it builds like a deeper bond. And then like at IPRW or at like different guides training, even on my guides course, people are like inquisitive, like what happened in that scenario? Because you guys managed to find a dude in 5 minutes that didn't have a Tranciever signal. We want to know what went down and how that all came about, because that is freaking awesome. And it's like, well, the number one reason that came about is because we train together every year. And so when, like I say, when the worst case scenario happened, we knew what to do.
That's pretty spectacular, man. I'm glad, like seeing you guys seeing Nick around him and seeing you guys the other day. I always like,
It's great, dude. And like McNutt and I, we've always been good friends. We've known each other since we were kids, and we've got a stronger bond than ever.
Yeah.
I love that dude, and I'm so stoked for him. He's so talented, and he's such a solid human being. And I'm so glad that we were able to get him out alive that day, because it just wasn't his turn. He's got a lot more to do in this world.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Well, that's cool. I'm glad that I could hear. Those stories are so fascinating, and he's so candid with talking about things like that, right? Even though this is like probably the most traumatic moment of his entire life, but
yeah,
he just is that kind of guy that, I'm totally fine to talk about it. So hearing his point of view, and then knowing you, who's gonna have very strong opinions and very developed ideas and thoughts on something, I wanted to kind of hear that other side.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I think it's good for us to talk about this sort of stuff so people can hear our firsthand experience and learn from what we've learned. Mm-hmm. And then also, McNutt, he could have gone into a PTSD frame of mind, and that would be totally acceptable. But he's managed to pull through and be like, I almost died, but I didn't. Mm-hmm. So let's all learn from it. Yeah. And I'm happy to share my story so that we can, hopefully educate other people and save other lives.
Yeah, right. So, right on. Well, that's cool. Let's transition away to something a little nicer.
Sure.
Super left field. Did you buy a boat? Yeah, give her. Did you buy a boat?
Yeah, we bought a boat with partners.
Yeah.
So it's not, we don't own it 100%. We're a third, my wife and I are a third owner.
Of a sailboat. Yeah, I saw you. I saw these your Instagram stuff in the summer. I'm like, he's got a boat now?
Yeah. So it's an older boat. It's a 1994.
In my mind, I'm like, all right, there's more podcast shit to talk
about. Totally. I love how your mind works like that, though. But yeah, no, it's a 45-foot Beneteau. For those that are in the sailing world, you'll know what that's all about. But it's just a monohull, a single hull sailboat.
Did you ever sail before?
So when I was young, my grandfather built a sailboat.
But you live in the interior. Was it like?
Yeah, no, he was in Fernie. Mm-hmm. Like my whole mom's side of my family lived in Fernie, and he had it just like up, in his yard.
On blocks or whatever?
Yeah. And it was a fiberglass hull that he bought,
mm-hmm.
and then built the whole interior and installed everything on deck. And it took him 10 years.
Yeah.
And so then when I was a young kid, they were sailing all around the West Coast here. And, for a couple weeks every summer, we would go out and sail with them.
Oh, cool.
And that really developed my love for the West Coast and why I'm not living in the Kootenays anymore and I'm living here in the Sea to Sky.
Because of your grandfather and his boat.
Well, just obviously Whistler's a great place to be for a pro skier, but it's also close to the ocean. So it's amazing mountains and ocean, best of both worlds.
Yeah.
I've always been really drawn to the ocean. There's an energy there, I feel. And so anyway, we my wife and I have a long-term goal of taking our daughters and sailing around the world
mm-hmm.
with them. Basically checking out. We're going to rent our house out in Pemberton and just leave and sail around the world and kite surf and snorkel and scuba and just experience the ocean. And the main reason, I was kind of the driving force, my wife is totally on board now, but the main reason I wanted to do that is skiing for me is a very selfish thing. It's a very, I leave my family to go skiing.
Mm-hmm.
As a professional or as a guide, that's how it works. I'm never taking my family along with me on these adventures. So ultimately what this means is it's this whole new adventure for me. So selfishly, it's a great adventure for me. The ocean's this whole new frontier. I've spent my life in the mountains and I love the mountains and I always will. But the ocean's this whole new thing, this whole new adventure. And then also I get to take my house that floats and my family along with me on this adventure and show my daughters the world and use clean energy primarily to travel the world and ultimately just have this amazing experience that I know my daughters will never forget, that we'll never forget, and visit and see all these cultures and all these places that the mountains will never take me to, that skiing will never take me to. I've traveled the world as a skier. I've been to all these snowy mountain places. I want to go check out the other aspect of the world.
Cool.
And it doesn't mean that I'm not going to come back here and do some guiding and come back here and do some skiing, whatever.
You can mix them both in, man.
I can mix them both in.
2 seasons for a reason.
Yeah. And so I'm not, we're going to check out whether or not it's a full-time checkout for many years or whether it's we're checked out for most of the year, and then we come back for a few weeks or a couple months of the year, and return back to our boat and then continue the adventure. We'll see how it all plays out.
Go on missions, right?
Yeah. And I mean, this plan could all fall through because everyone, like my daughters get seasick all the time or whatever, but like right now that's the plan. And so
is that like, so as I was mentioning before, you're a planner, right? You've got like the water barrel, you make your own food, right? COVID's happening. Is it just that one next level step? You're like, all right, world's gone to shit. Let's hit the ocean.
Well, yeah.
Let's go float for 6 months and see what happens when we get back.
Totally. I mean, it's partly that, right? But it's like, it's also like,
it's doomsday planning.
A bit, it's like, but it really for me, it's like, I don't like, humanity's in for a hard time for sure with climate change. Like that's no doubt. And no matter, we could turn off the tap of carbon right now and it's inevitable. We're heading for a much harder time. There's tons of examples recently with natural disasters.
Weather bombs, atmospheric rivers, heat domes,
tornadoes, hurricanes,
that's right. There's a tornado in Vancouver off the airport. That's
and so
wild.
like there's plenty of examples, and we've been down the climate change path on previous episodes. We don't need to go there. Everyone's pretty positive. If you know me, you know my view on the whole thing. But like anyway, humanity's heading for a hard time. So that's part of it. Yeah, that's part of it. Like let's disconnect. Let's go see the ocean before the ocean's completely fucked. Full of plastic. Like I mean, it's already like struggling. Coral reefs are dying, and plastic pollution's crazy. But like there still is a lot of beauty out there, and a lot of amazing stuff to see. So that's part of it. Is like let's go before the ocean maybe isn't what it used to be. Or go see what good parts are left, and then. But really what it comes down to is like, it's this adventure I can take my family on. And then also, like, I didn't have social media when I was a kid.
You started, I remember signing up for Facebook in 2007, being like, what's Facebook?
Yeah, and I'm really happy about that. And I really feel for kids these days that have to deal with social media.
Feel that they have to prove something or...
Well, yeah, and I think it's just really bad for, like, mental health. And, bullying and all these sorts of things are just elevated through social media. What is that recent study that says like 1 in 5 girls have really low self-esteem due to social media. 1 in 7 boys do. So it's kind of really messing with kids' heads. It's messing with adults' heads, but kids even more so because they're just growing humans. They're just trying to figure out their way in this world. We've all been there. And so if I can take my girls and remove them from that world, remove them from public school where they have to deal with all that crap.
Even if it is just like temporary blocks, which kind of acts as a reset,
I mean, it could be temporary blocks, or it could be like, my wife's a teacher. We could homeschool them and just get lost,
Teach them
and it's not like it's not like people are like, well, how are they going to develop social skills and meet other people? It's like when you're sailing around the world, there's hundreds of other families that are doing the exact same thing, and everywhere you anchor, there's new kids for them to meet. There's new people for you to meet. It's a very social thing, and they're actually going to develop better social skills because they're going to be meeting different cultures, different people from different walks of life, and have a more global view of the world. And also see all the things that are good about the world and all the things that are fucked up about the world. They're going to see how the coral reefs are dying in places. They're going to see how plastic pollution is out of control. They're also going to see the beauty. And they're also going to see remote tribes people on some island in the middle of South Pacific. And, it's going to make these girls, my daughters, really amazing human beings. And my parents gave me such a great life, and I'm so blessed and fortunate and happy what they gave me. And it's like, I think like any parent, you want to step it up for your kids, like give them a better life than even you had. And it's like, I had such a great life. Like, how can I do better? Well, this is how, it's like I can take my girls, and before they're even freaking 10 years old, they will have seen the world.
That's cool.
And been introduced to all the things, and they'll be ripping surfers. They'll probably be better surfer. They'll be the surfer I always wanted to be. They'll be ripping kiters. They'll have seen all that aspect of the world, And not to mention, like, you know, they'll still be introduced to the mountains and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, I just look at it as like I say, how do I step it up from the childhood I had? You know, and it's like, this is how.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm sure you've spoken to like Angel and Pete about their missions.
Well, it's funny because Angel and I, somewhere along the way, like, I knew Angel was like losing her motivation for professional skiing.
Mm-hmm.
And then somewhere along the way, like, I had this dream and we hadn't talked about it with each other.
Mm-hmm.
And then she had this dream, and then she had Pete, who's an experienced sailor who grew up sailing, who's also a videographer and editor and all these sorts of things. And like, boom, there they go. Boom. She's like, they bought a boat, you know, they got no kids, and she's like retired from skiing, and away they go. And you know what? Fast forward a few years, by the time I'm even on the water doing this with my family, they're probably going to be like YouTube stars.
Yeah,
you know,
right.
like, they're going to have like a huge following. They're both beautiful people with great personalities sailing around the world. And like, I've watched a bunch of these YouTube families that sail around the world and couples that sail around the world.
Yeah.
And they've got the same secret sauce that those other people have had to reach success. You know? So
It's amazing,
if not more,
and it's amazing how much money you can make just
Oh,
living
yeah.
your life and sharing.
yeah, and I think they even have a leg up on a lot of these other people because they're already sponsored.
They've
going
already
into
got
it.
they've already got their like specific with Angel. They've already got a fan base.
They've already got a fan base and a huge following. They're already sponsored, and they've already got video and editing experience. So like, out the gate, they're like way ahead of a lot of these other people that have reached like millions of followers and are getting like boats and like, you know, all these sorts of, they're basically living off of YouTube. So I think what Angel is doing is awesome. Props to her for knowing in her heart that she wasn't in the ski world anymore, and following that, and like, and not being afraid to be like, I'm out. And, you know, I was talking to Sage Catabriga the other day, or a couple weeks ago, and we were kind of laughing because we were like, man, when we started our career, Angel wasn't even a name that we knew. Nobody knew who Angel was. And then she came up and she became the best female skier in the world, in our world, and now she's retired. And here we are, we're still doing
It's
it.
like, peace
you know,
out,
it's
fellas.
like we're the old goats now, but like,
And you're trying to figure it out, and she did already.
yeah, she's already like, she came up, had this beautiful career, and is retired. And Sage and I are still just like, we're still doing it. You know, we were joking and laughing about that. But like, yeah, props to Angel, props to her for following her heart. I know she's so stoked. She's so happy doing what she's doing. Her heart wasn't in it anymore, and you know, she's always been a girl to follow her heart. So super stoked for her.
You're gonna have to get on one of her missions. You guys
Well, we'll go meet her somewhere in the world with our boat and their boat.
Or even
Hopefully by then, her and Pete are making babies on their boat, and
you guys can do like a month long like
hang
is
out
it, is it
together.
still called a caravan when it's boats? What is it? An armada?
Yeah, it's like oh god, I know the name for this, but I'm drawing a blank.
Oh, isn't it an armada?
It's
like a group
armada.
of ships?
Yeah,
a group
yeah.
of ships?
Yeah.
Someone's yelling at me right now.
Yeah, someone out there is like, you don't know what you're talking about. But, yeah. But yeah, basically.
What missions have you done? What kind of missions did you do this summer? Did you just cruise through like Howe Sound and?
Howe Sound and up the inside BC coast here, like up Sunshine Coast kind of deal. Nothing crazy. Like, our biggest trip was 5 days. Our boat that we have now, it's like a lot of friends are booking it and going sailing on it. Our one partner, he's the captain, and he's taking people sailing and, you know, giving them that experience, and it's helping us pay for the boat.
It's like a boat B&B.
Kinda, yeah, and it's
Turo for your boat.
I mean, anyone who knows anything about boats, it's like, what is a boat? What does boat stand for? It's bust out another thou. Like, it's like they just break constantly. You're constantly throwing money at them. They need constant maintenance, and so this is a way for us to kind of cover those costs.
What's that saying? The best day of your life is when you buy a boat, and the
And
best
when you
day of your life is when you sell your
a
boat. Yeah.
And so, and I know like fully what I'm getting into. So, yeah, at the end of the day, it's like it's just made it easier having this partnership because we're not 100% there. You know, we've got a lot of other stuff going on in our lives, but it's allowing us to kind of learn how to sail. It's also like helping me figure out how to fix all things boat. Because
oh man, watching the just like back to Angel and Pete watching their Instagram stories, being like, oh my god, like they've been going nonstop for like 8 months.
Well, they got an older boat too, right? And so it needs like constant things and constant repairs, and then upgrades and all these sorts of things, right? So yeah, like at the end of the day, it's like we're learning all that sort of stuff right now through having this boat partnership.
And then the plan is to sell your share and then move on.
Yeah, and then we've told our partners that eventually we want out and we're gonna go on our own. But for now, this is good, and it's not always easy. It's a partnership, you know. We don't always all see eye to eye, and it's difficult in some ways, but in other ways, it's kind of like the perfect situation for us right now, so that we don't have like 100% responsibility and cost on a boat.
Yeah,
you know,
you got that little buffer for learning.
Yeah, exactly, and we're able to learn firsthand, but at the same time enjoy it as it's ours, and not just be like taking sailing lessons.
Now, are you? Yeah, it kind of is like sailing lessons. Isn't
it's like sailing lessons, but you're on your own boat and you're like having, you know, it's like it's different. You know, you're not just like going down to Vancouver and taking a sailing lesson for a few hours and then going home. You're just like you're going on several days.
Yeah. Have you been into Desolation Sound yet?
We didn't go up that far this summer, no.
Do you know Stan? I can't remember his name. Stan and Nicole. Stan's buddies with Chile. He's been living on his boat in Squamish.
Oh yeah, okay.
For the last 3 years.
Yeah, I know who he is. Yeah.
It's just been floating in the marina, and I think they're finally getting ready to go. And Nicole's always
nice.
like, "We're going to Desolation Sound." I'm like, "You got to get me on that boat."
Sweet. Yeah.
Are you still going full vegan?
Yep.
Yeah. So when you're like on the water, because now that I'm thinking like you can't catch fish, you're not going to throw a crab trap or anything.
Who knows?
Like that.
Who knows where I'll be at? I mean, I can tell myself that I'll be vegan, but like, you know,
that's the choice until until the necessity outweighs the choice.
Yeah, and like honestly, for me, at the end of the day, it's like I've never said that like I'm gonna let this be like an inconvenience to anyone around me, right? Mm-hmm. And so if I'm in Europe and there is no vegan option, there's cheese on everything, whatever. Yeah. You know, and like if I'm at someone's dinner party
they're gonna
I'm not gonna dive into their meat platter, but like, you know, if there's things that aren't quite vegan that I can eat, like sure, I'm going down that path. And then fast forward to like we're on some like Fijian island that is like has a remote village that's of villagers that's taken us in for a week, and they're roasting a pig, and like they offer it to you and you turn it down.
You're gonna that's not something
you're gonna
do,
like,
right? Yeah.
Like I'm not gonna go back to like eating pig every day, but like in that circumstance, I'm gonna be like honored that they raised this pig on the island and they cooked it for us, mm-hmm. and I'm gonna eat it, you know. And then same if I'm in the middle of the ocean, and you're going to cross the Pacific, which is like 20 some days, and you expect to have fresh veggies every night to eat. Right. Not realistic. Are you going to throw a line off the back of your boat and maybe catch a fish? Most likely, you know, to get some protein going on. So who knows? With that said, like canned lentils and beans are an option, you know, like,
yeah.
I don't know. I'm just trying to like, I'm taking life one step at a time as far as being a vegan. McNutt's girl, actually, she's vegan, but she prefers to refer to herself as plant-based because then she doesn't have to adhere or live up to the standard of veganism.
You haven't given anybody a reason to call you out for something.
I
thought you were vegan. Well, you know what? I'm going to do what's common sense based on my own personal values and needs and wants.
That's the thing. Because like if you're at a dinner and everyone around the table knows that you're vegan, and then all of a sudden it's like they see you eating some cheese or whatever, they're going to be like, what the hell are you doing? It's like, well, you just ate a big fat steak, so don't call me out. But exactly. At the end of the day, it's like, yeah, I'm plant-based. I try. And I do quite well in my trying. I'm like 99.5% plant-based all the time. And yeah, maybe some dairy, like cheese stuff slips in there because it's pretty hard to avoid in this world.
Yeah.
And that's okay. It's, you know, it's like...
it's like anything. It's like with being a climate, aware
activist.
climate activist, then it's impossible to be perfect. And don't beat yourself up. Do the best you can, and that's really what you should do with any part of your life. Just do
that's
the best
the thing,
you can.
right? And like Julia Murray, who's a friend of mine, who's an ex-Olympian, who's like hard fast vegan. She's like a vegan blogger and runs all these vegan social media pages and so on and so forth. Like she always said to me, it's progress, not perfection, and that's a great thing to say about anything.
Yeah,
it's like you're an environmentalist or you care about the environment. It's about progress, not perfection. It's like, yeah, I'm probably going to hop in a helicopter this year. I'm probably going to go out in the mountains on my snowmobile this year. I still care about the environment, and I'm still allowed to care about the environment. It's progress, not perfection. I do a bunch of other things in my life to try and get there, and the hope is that one day all these things, helicopters can run off of fuels that aren't so damaging, and so can snowmobiles. They could be electric. There's hopefully we get to a place where our impact on the environment just living in this society is less. But like you can work in the oil patch and still care about the environment.
True.
And that's the thing is like people feel like, well, I work in oil, so I'm not allowed to care. Well, I've got a buddy that runs a drill platform in Africa right now. And when I talk to him about climate change, he cares. He's on board. But we're all born into this society. We're all born into this world. So it's progress, not perfection.
Right.
And it's the same with my plant-based diet. Progress, not perfection. So anyway.
There you go. There's a lot. Yeah. We could go on another.
Oh, we get like, yeah.
We could
it's
really
hard.
get into
It's hard for me not to avoid going down that rabbit hole because like people love to call me a hypocrite.
Well, because you're an outspoken person,
Yeah.
right? I did an interview with Griff that I put out this last week.
Yeah.
And he told me a story. We were talking about you, and he's like, I think the only time I've ever been at a dinner where someone has given 2 toasts was Ian McIntosh.
Right.
He's like, he stood up and did a toast, and then it went around, and he stood up and gave another toast at the same dinner. I was like, yep, only Mac. And I was like, yeah. But I know what I mean. Like, you believe strongly in the things you believe in, and you're passionate about them, and you know how to eloquently express your opinions and talk about them in a way that is right for yourself, right? And when you put yourself out there, then it allows for people to think that they can go at you for it. You know what I mean? Like, you're putting yourself out there, okay, fine, then here comes.
I'm going to attack you.
Yeah.
And with all those sorts of things, I try to be really well educated and informed so that I'm not just talking out of my ass.
Yep.
But yeah, I am like, anyone who knows me knows that like I'm the loud guy. I'm the guy who's going to speak up. I'm the guy who's going to give you my opinion. But my opinion is backed up with a lot of research, and it's not just like I'm not just making stuff up.
Yeah.
And so and my research makes me more passionate, and that's just is what it is, and people can call me a hypocrite all they want, but it's like, you know what? I'm not out there on social media calling people hypocrites. I'm just out there trying to spread the good word, trying to spread good information, trying to help us all become more well informed, and hopefully all, have a little bit of progress, not perfection.
Do you know what? You know what? Now that you said, you're not the kind of guy that, in my opinion, goes out of his way to be preachy.
No.
But when you have the platform,
I'll state it.
Exactly. When you have your platform and and you have the ability to speak, you're going to speak.
Totally.
But you're not going to go out of your way to preach,
No.
which is a big difference.
Yeah, and I mean, like, props to anyone who does preach it. I mean, whatever. Like, you know what? Everyone's entitled to their opinion. But I think we need to get to a world where like scientific fact or just fact in general supersedes everything else. But right now we live in a world where lies and deceit and false information seem to be getting the most traction, and it happens through social media. You see it. I'm going to say something right now. I'm not an anti-vaxxer. I'm not but mainstream media is twisting things around right now.
It's just confusing. It's
just
confusing
a lot of confusion, and
there's so much information coming, and like, how do you I think about it? I think about it in a way where, I'm an empath, because I always understand where people are coming from. I seem to, right? So you know, sure, the government is telling you to do this and telling you to do that and telling you to do that. Well, every single person in the government is just a human being trying to figure out what the fuck is going on and doing their best to try and implement it based on absolutely no prior history.
Totally.
Right? So that's when you get those mixed messages. Like, well, you said this last week, and you said this week. Well, we just learned that this is different.
Well, things are constantly changing, and really at the end of the day, it's like, you know, have you ever heard the Jim Jeffries, like, comedian? Yeah, and he does that, like, skit on
the gun control skit.
Gun control. Yeah. And it's like, he says one thing in that skit that I think, like, reigns true with everything is, like, in society, we have to play to our lowest 1%. Like, we have to dumb it down.
The lowest common denominator.
To the lowest common denominator. And that's where we have to operate. Because if we try and play to the smartest people, all those lowest common denominators are going to fuck it all up. You know? And basically, what he's referring to is, like, we need levels of gun control that play to the stupidest people with guns.
Yeah.
Because those are the people that are going to fuck it up. You know? And he's right. Like, this is works in society as a whole. You know, it's like, and I think that's what governments are trying to do right now with the pandemic is, like, play to the lowest 1%. Because if they go around and say, hey, this new variant is, like, actually from African studies 30% less deadly, then people are gonna be like, it's 30% less deadly. Let's party.
Yeah.
You know,
Spit
but it's
my
like
mouth.
It's like they don't want people to really know that information because they don't want the repercussions of, like, what people will do with that information.
Right.
You know? And it's like if we were all, like, at that higher 1% level of consciousness and thinking and education, we would all say, okay, yeah, it's 30% less deadly, but it's way more transmissible. And does that mean we all just go out and party? No, it means, like, let's still be careful and continue forward.
Right.
You know, but, like, that's not how society works.
Just like everything, they say there's two sides to every story. There's usually like 6 or 7.
Or there's, like, this side, this opinion, and the truth is always usually somewhere in the middle,
right,
on one side or the other.
It's like that's it wasn't even before it was a meme when there's a number drawn and there's a guy on each side and one guy's like, that's a 6, and the other guy's like, that's a 9, and they're like, well, they're both right. You know
yeah, totally.
So I don't know. In our old age, I've learned a little bit more of how to see other people's sides, and as much as I'm aware of other people's sides, I still know that they're wrong.
Yeah. No, for sure. And it's like, but that's the thing, right? Is, like, I get people that, like, want to attack me on social media for, like, being a climate activist or trying to care about climate. And
do you get trolls?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
And what, you know, and ultimately at the end of the day is, like, where I try and get to with these people is, like, I'm not going to, like, convince them of my point of view. But what I am going to convince them is that it's okay for them to have their point of view.
Yep.
And it's also okay for me to have my point of view. And, like, where we need to meet is somewhere in the middle.
Do you engage them in, like, DM messages and stuff?
Depending. Yes, I do.
Because I find
often I do.
Because I remember talking to Douglas about this, and he was like, you know what? A lot of times they're just pushing buttons to get engaged, to get a hold of you, to get engaged, and you're like, oh hey, I don't agree with. Oh hey, you know what? You're right. You know what? You're
for
my
sure.
hero. And
like,
it's just a matter of, like, pushing buttons. So, like, maybe this is my way to have a contact with an Ian McIntosh, right? And then either they flip flop, or they
never flop onto your side,
or they super soften their position to a point where they're not as aggressive, where they're more open, because now I have this dialogue with this guy where I didn't think I could before, so I was just going to attack him.
You know what? Props to Mike Douglas, because he goes out of his way to be an activist, and he's putting himself out there a lot, and I'm sure he gets attacked a ton.
Dude, there's ads on the Canucks radio broadcast right now. I was listening to, like, the main Vancouver broadcast. Like, they've got, like, Protect Our Winters ads on the local,
and he's on there,
the local station, but it's on, like, Sportsnet 650 during the Canucks games, and I was like, no way.
You know, and like
you said, he's putting himself out there.
He's putting himself out there, and he has to turn off his comments,
and
DMs, because it's like what the backlash he gets, right?
Mm-hmm.
Whereas, like, I put myself out there less, and then so when I do get backlash, sometimes I can engage and get to a place with the person, hopefully, is for them to see where I'm coming from and to see that, like, oh, he's not actually a hypocrite. He's just like me. But he like cares. Yeah. Whereas like I've decided that like I can't care or I shouldn't care because of like what my job is or where I live in society or what my influences are. But really at the end of the day, it's like fucking Mother Nature doesn't give a shit.
No.
And and climate change doesn't give a shit. And we're all gonna end up realizing it eventually, And so sorry, everyone. Like you can say that like this isn't good for the economy, but like how many billions of dollars did we just spend on all these natural disasters that we've been through in the last year, just here in BC? Mm-hmm. And like then now tell me that we can't afford to transition,
right?
And that's for me that's the argument. But like human race, we wait until it's too late before we decide to do anything about it. And that's where we are. We're going to wait until it gets so bad that we're like, holy shit, we need to do something about this. And it will be kind of too late. Fast forward generations and we'll probably be able to recover. But like, just think about what we've been through in the last 12 months in BC.
Oh, man.
And we're just getting warmed up on this whole thing.
Well, they say this was the hottest summer of our lives, and it's also the coldest summer for the rest of our lives.
It's funny how I said we weren't going to go down the climate change path, and here we are.
But you know what, though? It's something that you're passionate about.
Yeah.
And it's something that you care about, and it's just shit that it's just...
I just think it's like, as an educated human being that looks at the world through the eyes of like, what is the science? Like, it's just so blatantly obvious to me. Like the fact that people still deny what's going on is shocking to me when the science is so crystal clear, but there's a lot of misinformation out there. There's a lot of like social media. The thing is algorithms.
I think a lot of it is just denying to like,
care.
I think my personal stance is a lot of it is just people denying it who are in positions of like government, that sort of thing, so that they can pander to a base that they think is going to be on board with that.
No,
message.
100%. I mean, there's the whole political side of it, right?
Yeah.
But then there's the whole like where people are getting their information from. And we all know this at this point that like social media platforms, we won't mention names, love to spread untruths and lies because that gets more viewership. Like someone will engage more with a lie than they will with the truth because the lie is more interesting. And if you're selling people's eyeballs on your screen, if that's what you're selling, then selling lies is more profitable. And algorithms, if you go down the rabbit hole of one way or the other, you go down the rabbit hole, the algorithms will feed you the information that you back you up.
I was reading this thing. I was listening to this thing the other day, and it was like there's Trump. There's like say left wingers and right wingers.
Yeah.
And
the extreme left and the extreme right are both out to lunch.
They did this study on. So they basically set up accounts that they're one or the other, and the information that they see on their news feeds are so completely different.
Yeah, I mean, just like
it's wild, and it just feeds into
it's
their,
like
each of their narratives, and they're so completely. It's
Have you watched Social Dilemma?
Is it that YouTube thing?
It's about social media and like what it's doing to our society.
Is that scary? Like, it's that scary.
But it's like you could be in like a place like I don't know, where's a place that really denies climate change, like Florida, right? You'd be in Florida and you type in climate change, and it'll say the first thing that'll pop up on your Google search is a hoax.
Yeah.
But here in BC, especially on the coast, we're pretty passionate about it.
Yeah.
Well, let's say California is another American place. You type in climate changes, and they will like it. Well, the first thing that will come up is like the biggest threat to humankind. Or, So you get, depending on where you live, you get completely different sources of information. And this is where I think, and like a lot of people hate the word regulation, but this is where government regulation needs to step in and make sure that the information that's being put out there on the web is factual, true information, and the lies are inaccessible.
That's a big fat wormhole that we.
That is a big fat wormhole, and that's going to get a lot of people stirred up. But like, that's where we as a society need to get to, because as long as we're living in a society where what you look for information is geared towards what your ideals already are, instead of what is fact.
Yeah.
We're never going to get anywhere.
Yeah, exactly. If you have the opportunity to back up whatever crazy thought you have, is troubling. Do you know what I mean? On both sides.
But who's regulating it, right? That's the other thing. It's like, do we rely on governments to regulate what is true? I think we rely on like the scientific community to regulate what is true. You know, in a large part, I think that would do us wonders. Is it going to be 100% foolproof? No. But is it going to be way better than where we are right now? Hell yeah. Mm-hmm. You know, and so that's... Anyway, I think we need this like new governing body that's like scientific governing body of like information on the web. Like Wikipedia is a stupid thing, right? Like when you think about it, like you could just put information in there, you know? Like people can just like...
I find it Wikipedia, out of all of them, I think Wikipedia gets regulated pretty well.
Hopefully. But like,
I do find it funny that when like somebody, like when something happens to somebody, like, well, I was watching some hockey game the other day, and this one team destroyed them. Yeah. And it was this one coach just gets beat by all the, and it was like he's owned by the Vancouver Canucks or something like that. So someone can go in and change something, right? Just because it's funny. But then it usually gets fact checked and regulated pretty quickly.
Hopefully, okay, so because Wikipedia is maybe a bad example because hopefully it gets fact checked and changed quickly. But like, you know, I mean, Facebook has been notoriously bad for that. They're trying to change their ways, or are they? I don't know. They say they are. They at least are trying to, like, you know, save face and be like, we're doing it, you know. But like, and you know, I mean, certain things like banishing Trump or whatever, or like,
I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing.
It's not a good thing.
So now he's gonna do all this crazy shit in secret, and he's gonna come back.
Well, and also it just makes all his followers more angry,
right? And more they double down on as a supporter.
They double down on him, you know. And so that isn't necessarily what you need to do. But like when he I don't know, when he's lying, it needs to be like, all right. And you see this sometimes now. It's like, this is a lie.
Yeah.
You know, but
check the facts.
But who is determining whether or not it's a lie? Right. That's the wormhole that we're in, and this weird world that we live in. And this is why I just want to sail the fuck away with my family and not have my daughters freaking into this BS. Because really, at the end of the day, it's like we all need to like put our screens down and go out there and engage with people and be real.
Have conversations, get outside, get some fresh air.
And you know what? And if you're going to have an opinion about something, make sure you've researched the crap out of it. And make sure that the research you're doing is factual, scientifically backed research. So that when you can argue and have that opinion, you know that you can back it up, and what you are arguing is 100% factual.
When you're questioned on it, like that Jordan Klepper guy, have you seen those clips from the Daily Show? And he goes to like Trump rallies, and he goes, and then he went to like anti-vax rallies, like in California, where there's a lot of like liberal anti-vaxxers, that sort of thing. And he asks them questions, and they just sound so stupid because they have no idea why they have that opinion.
Yeah, they've chosen
that opinion as a personality trait rather than that opinion based on something I believe in.
They've become a sheep in the herd. Yep. Rather than someone who's more intelligent than the sheep, who's actually gone out there and taken the time to find the information.
Come on, sheeple.
Yeah.
What you got to do is get a sailboat.
Yeah, and I mean, there's people on both sides of the spectrum. I'm not trying to be this like super left liberal
no. They're both
sounding human being.
They're the extreme, as you said, the extremes on both sides are ridiculous.
Equally out to lunch. Yep. You know, it's like, again, somewhere in the middle.
Right.
Is where we need to be as a society, but facts, truth need to be paramount in our future going forth. And so I really hope that somehow, some way, as a society, we find a way to get to a place where the information we get is truthful and factual.
And if not, you have an exit plan.
And I'm still out of here.
Oh, dude, man, I'm so stoked you came over, man. Cheers,
my
buddy.
pleasure.
So
Always.
this was episode number 200. How many podcasts have you done? You've probably done close to 200 too, I bet.
Oh, it's no, not 200, but like
You're getting close.
I mean, in the last couple months, I think I've done like 6.
Yeah, hey.
Yeah.
Have you got yourself your own microphone yet? I can help you out with that. You may as well.
No.
When someone
I don't.
calls you up and you get, yeah, sure, man. You just record it, send it over. They love you for that.
It's funny though, because like I find like I'll like check them out. Like, what did I even say on this podcast? So I'll like listen to what I actually, and like some of it's like really repetitive, and so I try not to be super repetitive. I think tonight we did a great job of talking about a bunch of stuff that.
So I think we're friends. We've been buds
Yeah.
for a long time. So I know how to make sure I avoid you talking about like the boilerplate, like
The same thing.
the same response.
But there is some repetitive stuff. But like,
obviously,
that's just me. That's my personality. Yeah. Of course, I'm going to talk about these things.
like when I see you getting into something, like I'm getting like when I asked you about the Nick thing.
Yeah.
And you went right into the Pieps thing.
Yeah.
That wasn't what I was going for, but you jumped right into it. I'm like, no. I'm getting you back to the. I want to hear what happened. You know what I mean? So maybe that helps.
No, it does. It definitely does. And you know, at the end of the day, it's you know, I think, you know, I am who I am. So
there you go.
You know, if you're listening to a podcast with me, you're gonna get some things that are probably repetitive if you listen to other podcasts from me, but there'll also be tidbits of some new things, I hope.
I listen whenever like they do when a movie comes out or something like that, and you get that one guy that does several different podcasts. Like I listen to like 3 different podcasts with Quentin Tarantino on them.
Yeah.
All in the same week because he's doing the press tour or whatever. And I listen to all 3 and I'm like, oh, this one's better than this one. This one's better than that one. This one's pretty lame.
Right.
And like, oh, how did he avoid that guy getting into that same thing that he was talking about? So that's kind of what I strive for. Let's get at it. That's why I don't write questions down, man.
No, it's good.
I have
it's
a
a
few
real
ideas
just conversation.
Yeah, exactly. And when you show people a blank sheet of paper with no questions on it, they're like, all right, well, all good.
Yeah.
But we just lost that camera.
That camera's done.
We just lost that camera. So
that camera's done, but we still got that one.
Yeah, buddy.
Pleasure.
Man, love you.
Love you too.
See you, bud.
Cheers.
Number 200, Ian Mac.
Yeah,
go
200.
Go listen to number 100.
Or 1.
Or 1. Yeah.
And I'm pleasured and I'm honored. And yeah, so stoked.
We'll see you in about 4 years for number 300, buddy.
Can't wait.
All right.
Later.
You've been listening to the Low Pressure Podcast, the podcast for skiers. This has been a Redmark Media production.